So on to making the dress first for the Pixie outfit. So this consists of a bodice in a really nice fabric. I've chosen a sparkly fabric here, and the skirt part is just done in a dress lining fabric. You need something that's really quite slippy so that when you do the no-sew tutu it's going to hang nicely. Now, as you can see with this bodice, I've self-lined it with the same fabric, so you can do that. Or, like I'm going to show you in this demonstration, you can just use the dress lining for the lining of the bodice. You might find it easier to use dress lining purely because the shoulder section is really narrow, and because it's so narrow it can sometimes prove to be a little bit difficult actually turning it through. So maybe have a go with using the self lining on it, but if it doesn't work then revert to a dress lining, which is much more thinner to pull through as you turn. Okay, so we've got bodice front in the pattern fabric and 2 bodice backs in the pattern fabric. I've also got a bodice front in the lining and 2 bodice backs in the lining. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to line up the back to the front along the shoulder seams. So we're going to pop in a pin there, the back line into the front on the shoulder seams, pop a pin in there. We're going to repeat with the lining, so match the shoulder seams there, and match that shoulder seam there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to sew those seams. As you can see, it's only a small seam allowance. It's about the size of the sewing machine foot. So that's what I tend to use for the seam allowance for all the outfits that I produce. Okay, so I will go and sew those together. Okay, so the shoulder seams are nicely sewn, and I've pressed the seams out nice and flat on both the lining and the main bodice. So the next thing to do is to sew the 2 together. So with right sides facing, pop your lining on top of your main bodice, line it up at the shoulder seams, tweak it around so that it fits. And then pop in some pins. So we've held that in place. Now we're also going to just pop some pins around the armhole area as well. So a couple of pins in there. Okay, so I'm going to go and sew all the way around the back seams, around the neck and down that back seam and round each armhole. Okay, so I've sewn all the way around the back seam, the neck edge and the armholes, and I've also pinked all the way around the edges. So the next thing for us to do is to turn this right side out. So it can be a bit tricky because these are really narrow shoulder seams here, but where there's a will there's a way. So you take your long handled tweezers, and if they don't work you can always use your hemostats that you do use for turning and pushing in your fabric into your doll. So we'll try with the tweezers first. If that doesn't work I'm going to go on to the hemostats. So take your tweezers through the front bodice, through the shoulder seam there, and just grab hold of some of the lining in the tweezers. Now you have to be careful if you're using a lining fabric because where it's quite fragile you can end up ripping it a little bit. So just gradually pull that through until you can see it come out the other side. Okay, and then once it has come out the other side you need to hold on to that little tiny bit and just gradually pull through. It does take some doing, just be careful with the lining because you don't want to rip it where it's more of a fragile fabric. And then just keep pulling and it will come through. What you can also use a needle at this point. If you're finding it a little bit difficult to get through, then just take a big needle and just help to ease it through. Takes some doing, but it will happen. I'm just going to go on to the other side and just show you how to use the hemostats if you prefer to use that side. So up through the front lining to the back lining, just take a little bit at the top edge there into your hemostats. Try to lock them in place so that they're not going to open, and then pull that through so you can see that that works equally as well. And because they're locked in place, I can give it a really good pull and then I've got to try and unlock it. That's it. So again, back on with the hemostats, holding on to the main bodice lining so that you don't rip the dress lining, and just eking it through until it comes. There it comes. There she is. So like I said, if you're going to use self-lining on the bodice, you've got two thicker fabrics to get through that small little opening at the top. You can do it. You've seen it on the dress I showed you before. Just takes a bit of time and working on it. So you just got to be patient to get it through. Okay, so now it's all pulled through, I am going to take my dotting tool, which I use to press out all the seams. This is widely used in the beauty industry. It's for nail art, just for adding little dots onto your nails, but great for actually pushing through the seams on any of your outfits and also on your doll. So you just run the little ball through the seam and that just presses that seam out nice and flat. Okay, so now that all those seams are pressed out, I can go and iron that nice and flat. So all nicely ironed, all the seams are nice and flat on both sides. And the next thing for us to do is to join these two side seams together. So take the main bodice fabric and that side seam, main bodice fabric and that side seam, and place the two together. And just match the armhole seams so that you know that they're in alignment. Pop a pin in there, one down the bottom, and then another one over on that side. So you're stretching it out inside out with the two underarm seams matching. Same for the other side. Okay, so I've now sewn those side seams together and ironed them out nice and flat. I've also run a basting stitch right the way along the bottom edge of the top lining and the lining underneath, so they're now sewn together all the way along. Okay, so moving on to the skirt section of the dress. This is just a lining fabric, so it's a dress lining fabric. You need something that's going to be quite slippy so that when you put the no-sew tutu on over the top, it's going to hang nicely and slip down nicely. I wouldn't use a cotton or anything like that. You need something that's slippy, like a dress lining. So I've zigzagged all the way around the edge, so that's the sides, the bottom and the other side, and I've also run some gathering threads through the top edge, 2 lines of gathering thread. Okay, blue for my bobbin, red for my needle thread. Okay, so going to take your bodice, find the centre point, so put the 2 side seams together, find that centre point, give it a pinch, pop a pin in there so you know where your centre point is. Let's go for coloured pin this time. So there's my centre point there. Find my centre point on my skirt, which is just there. So right sides together, not that it makes much difference on lining. Place that there and pop that pin in, and then we're going to gather this skirt section onto the bodice. Now you can see I've turned over that back seam slightly and it's caught in with the gathering stitches. So that is now going to be aligned with the edge, the centre back edge of the bodice. So align those together, pop a pin in, and then you're going to take up your needle thread. So in my case it's the red thread, if I can separate the 2. So red thread there, red thread there. Take those 2 together and pull them together at the same time, and just ease those gathers through until it fits the bodice. So just keep easing through until it fits nicely. If you've over gathered, that's absolutely fine, because if you over gather, you just pull back to fit, and then once that's fitting snugly, you then take the red threads and you just wrap around in a figure of 8 on that outside pin there. That's going to hold that gather stitch in place. And then all you need to do is just eke those gathers out so that they're nice and even. So just distribute those gather stitches all nice and evenly across that bodice section. And once they're distributed evenly, I'm just going to pop one more pin in here. And that's ready then to be sewn. So continue over with the other side. And then just pop a pin in there. So now I'm going to go and sew this. So I'm going to sew in between the 2 gather stitches. So just under this top gather stitch, I'm going to sew in between there. And then I'm going to sew another one above the gather stitch just to hold in place. And then once I've sewn the other one above, I then snip off the excess, and then I zigzag, or you can overlock, or however you want to do it. But that just gives that a nice finish to that skirt seam. Okay, I've sewn that first stitch line. Before I sew that second stitch line, I just want to show you how easy it is to pull your gathering threads out. So you've pulled up your gathering threads with your red thread, which is your needle thread. Your bobbin thread is completely left alone. And then to take those gathering threads out, you just then take the red threads. If you pull on the end there, you can see that they're the longer ones because they're the ones that have been pulled through the gather. And you just pull the whole lot through. And then once you've got the red threads out, you're just left with the blue threads underneath, and you can then pull them out. And that is how quick it is. What you need to remember is don't pull on the bobbin thread, because if you pull that bobbin thread, it locks all those threads in place. So only ever pull on your needle thread. So that's why I do the 2 different colours. I always know that the top thread, the needle thread, is the red thread, and the bobbin thread is always the blue thread. That was just a little quick tip for you. I'm just going to go now sew that second line along there, snip off and zigzag. Okay, so the skirt is now attached to the bodice and I've ironed it flat. I did that double line of stitching along with a zigzag edge. I've actually ironed the bodice flat going downwards. I haven't done that bit where it go up because the lining is a lot lighter in weight than the bodice. So yeah, so that is the little dress. So the last thing to do on it is just to close that back seam. So you just align the lower edge, pop a pin at the bottom there, bring it up so that you're leaving an opening about that much so that your dolly can get into her dress. Don't sew right up to the top, you just leave that opening there. And then that's the opening that the doll can get into. So I'm just going to go and machine stitch that and iron those seams flat. So back seam sewn all nicely together and ironed nice and flat. And then there's your little overlap section there. And then you just need to put 3 clear press studs on there to fasten. So yeah, quite a sweet little dress actually. This pattern would make a nice little, if you did it in the same fabric, a nice little shift dress for Polly with maybe a little pocket on each side. So yeah, quite a little versatile pattern that one is for tweaking around with. And it's quite a nice length as well because it comes just sort of onto her knee. So yeah, nice little dress. Okay, so onwards with the organza no-sew tutu. Okay, so for our no-sew tutu, we're going to be using organza. Now, you need 1/2 meter times 3 colours for your no-sew tutu. So you could have 1.5 meters of just one solid colour, or if you want to do the 3 colourway, which I do, which is lovely, then you would need 3 times 1/2 meters of organza. Now, we sell these packs of organza are on our web shop. We've got them in a variety of colours. We've also got a bright pink, which I haven't got here. But these are sold in 1/2 meter packs. So you would choose the 3 that you wanted for your doll, whatever colourways you want. There's loads of different colour combinations that you could choose from. And you would buy 3 packs of these 1/2 meter organzas. Okay, so the 1/2 meter size, the length of that 1/2 meter piece is 50 centimeters, and that 50 centimeters is perfect for the strips that you need to cut for your no-sew tutu, which I will show you in a moment. Plus, in your tutu, you are also going to add, if you like, some dress net or tulle. Let's pop it down that way so you can see it. Again, we've got these rolls in our web shop. I think there's about 23 meters on each roll. Again, you're going to need to cut 15 pieces, 15 little lengths at 50 centimeters length of each colour. Now, you don't have to use the dress net in your no-sew tutu, but I just think it adds a nice little different sort of style of fabric within the tutu. You could actually make a no-sew tutu completely out of the dress net. This is actually tulle rather than net. So tulle is a lot more softer. We used to use tulle when we made the veils when we had the wedding shop. So yeah, it's a nice soft netty tulle. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to cut your strips. Okay, so with your 1/2 meter of organza, you are going to cut it into long strips that are the 50 centimeters in length. Now, strips I'm going to cut for this doll are going to be sort of 3 to 4 centimeters wide. I think in my pattern book it says cut them 6 centimeters. It's entirely up to you. 6, 5, 4, 3 centimeters works equally as well. So I'm just going to do these as 3 to 4 centimeters. So you take your scissors and you just basically cut in a strip right the way through that 1/2 metre piece of fabric. Easy to do, not rocket science, hasn't got to be absolutely spot on and perfect. Approximately whatever size you choose you're going for, so I'm going for 3 to 4 centimetres. You're going to cut 15 strips of each of the 3 colours, so you'll end up with 45 of these. And then once you've cut all your strips, you're going to take away that square edge. So basically, oh, if I find my other scissors, all we're going to do is just curve off that lower edge on all of them, top and bottom. So you're just taking away the square edge on the bottom of the organza strip. So 45 of these, whether it's one solid colour or split between 3, that's 15 of each if you're going to do the 3. 50 centimetres long, which is 1/2 metre, which is what you're purchasing in the packs if you purchase them from us. Plus you are going to you're going to cut 15 of the dress net. Now these need to be 50 centimetres long. The way I do it is I just put one of these on the table, so I know that's 50 centimetres, and then I take my dress net and I just lay it on top, roughly work out where it is and give it a snip. And then the same thing with this. I know it's a bit difficult to see because it's so fine. You just fold that over in half, that square edge, and just cut off that edge into a nice V shape. Probably can't see it because it's so light. Can you see it over there? No, probably not. Take my word for it. So you're just cutting off the square edge of the dress net so that it's got a nice point to each piece, and you need 15 of those as well. So 45 of the organza plus 15 of the dress net if you're going to use that as well. So the next thing to do with our strips is we need to seal these edges. Because organza will fray, we need to seal them with a hot sauce, a heat sauce. So for that we're going to use a tea light. So take your tea light, go careful when using a naked flame please. Do be careful of your tea lights. I say that when I was doing this the other night just to get these all prepared for this video. I'm so clumsy. As I was running it through, I knocked it, and I'd been using it for quite a while, so the tea light was quite full of wax. It went all over my new jeans. So hey, just be careful. If you're anything like me, clumsy numpty. Okay, so you're just going to take the edge of this cut organza strip, and we're just going to run it along the edge of the flame. Now we don't have to actually put it in the flame, you're just running it along the edge of the flame, and that is just going to seal that edge. So all the way along the edge to seal it, turn it round and do the other side. If you do end up with a scorch mark because you've held it on the flame for too long, that's fine, just snip that bit off, because it does happen. What that's doing is that's just sealing the edge of the organza so that now won't fray. And you can do that with a lot of fabrics that have a fraying situation about them, so you can always just use a naked flame just to run along the edge, and that will just seal it in. It's quite a good idea to do that onto the ribbons that you put into Polly's hair. You know, when you snip the edge off, when you snip that edge off, you can just sort of run one of these through it just to stop it from fraying. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is put the dress on Polly the Pixie, and then take some ribbon This is just a satin ribbon in a matching colour, and I'm just going to tie that around her waist. Pull it nice and tight, just to find out how much ribbon we need for the no-sew tutu. So just pop a pin in that point there, hold on to that point there, don't let your pin fall out. And on that one there, I'm just going to tie a knot. So that's my starting point. So tie a knot in there. And that's where I know I'm going to start my no-sew tutu from, and that's my finish point. So that is basically her waist size. Okay, so I've got my ribbon, I've got my knot, which is the starting point, and I've got my pin, which is the ending point. Now, you could tie this around a book. I like to tie it around this clipboard. I like the clipboard because I can then actually put where the knot is just through the clipboard edge, just so that's not going to shift. I can see my end point is here, so if my pin did fall out, I know that my end point is basically at the end of the clipboard. And then I've just tied it in a bow at the back. I'll put some white paper on it because this is a clear clipboard, and if I didn't put the white card on it, you'd have a horrible reflection showing in the camera. So, okay, onwards. So I've laid all my 45 pieces of organza out in front of me in the order that I'm going to attach them to the ribbon. So don't forget, this is a no-sew tutu. So again, lovely little craft that you can get the kids to do. So lay out your 45 pieces plus your net in front of you in the order that you're going to attach your strips. So easy peasy, lemon squeezy. All you do is take your organza piece, find the centre point, squish it in a little bit at the bottom and tie it in a nice tight knot, pull it down and push it up to the knot where we started. So that's number 1 out of 45, well 60 actually. Take your next colour, squish it in at the bottom there, tie it up and push along. Then I'm going on to the net. Tying that in, pushing it along. They need to be pushed up nice and tight. Bright pink. So my 3 colours are peach, lemon, lemony yellow, peach, lemon and bright pink. So I finished on that section there, back to the beginning, take my peachy colour. So I'm going to work all the way through the ribbon until the whole lot has been put on to my ribbon band. think I cut 16 of each of the strips, just to sort of be on the safe side, because you don't want to get this far and then think, oh, I haven't got enough to go up to the pin line. So, you know, you can always cut a few extra just to be on the safe side. I'm just going to try and get that yellow one in. I might have to put the extra ones in as well, but I'll just finish off with that yellowy one, and then I'll tie it around her waist just to see how we are. So I can take that pin out now because I know that I've done more or less where I need to be. But yeah, isn't that lovely? How lovely those colours are together. Reminds me of a sunset, these colours. Okay, so let's undo that. Take that off of there, but leave that on there. So here is your no-sew tutu. Come back over that way, that's it. So you've got your ties at the back to fit around her waist, and then you've got all this lovely flouncing going on here with your tutu. So let's just try it on Polly the Pixie and see where we stand, see if we need to maybe add some more or even take some away. Pop it on, turn it, oh, hold on to that bit, turn her over, bring that to the centre. You need to fit it on quite snug. My ribbons are too long, I need to cut them back a bit. Oh yeah, perfect fit. So you would just tie that in and tie that into a nice tight bow. Now what you can also do is, come here, what's going on with your hair? Let's get you straight. Because it may slip slightly in the front there, because it's slipping on the lining, you can actually sew. Once you've got it positioned on there and you know where it's fitting her nicely, pop some pins in and then just do a series of stitches attaching the bodice to the skirt, and then that way it won't slip down, because it does have a tendency to slip if it's not sewn. So I've just been putting a couple of stitches in. I've been doing 2 on the sides, 2 centrally there, and then 2 on the back as well, and then that will prevent it from slipping down. So yeah, a beautiful, beautiful little no-sew tutu. Okay, so next I'm going to show you how to decorate the bodice. Okay, just to show you another couple of colourways of doing your no-sew tutu. So this is a blue inspired one, and on here I've used pale blue, silver and aquamarine on this one. Beautiful colour combination. And then on this one, this is lilac, bright pink, white on this one, and this one has got the 6 centimetre strips rather than the 3 to 4, which I've shown you earlier. So that's again another lovely colour combination. This one, this has got 6 centimetre strips, and this is peach, gold and cream with pink net on this one. You can see it's slightly different from the one that we've done today, which has got the pink, peach and yellow. And then finally what I like to do is just add a little bit of decoration to the bodice. You can do the bodice front and you can do the back, or you can just do the front. or you could just do the neckline. It's entirely up to you how you decorate, if you do decide to decorate. So there's lots of different crafty things out there that you can purchase, little craft stone, little gemstones. You can get these rhinestones. Again, they come in all different colours. I'm going to use a few gold today, so I'm just going to pop some of those in that lid. And I'm also going to use some of these gemstones that we sell in these little packets on our website, multicoloured packets, so you would just pick out the colours that you want to decorate with. So I've chosen some pink and some gold to decorate my little bodice. You're going to need a hot glue gun. You can't stick this type of thing on with PVA glue, it just wouldn't stick. So you would need a hot glue gun to attach any sort of gemstone-y things. Okay, and you need a cotton bud, a dampened down cotton bud for picking up your little stones. So I think I'm going to start in the centre, pop a little dot of glue on there. I'm going to put my finger there so I know where my glue is, pick up the gemstone and pop it on, and that's all you need to do. Let's just work down. Tiny little bit of glue, grab a gemstone and pop it on. You can basically do any sort of pattern with your stones, whatever you fancy. You might want to just do 3 little gemstones like that down the front, or completely decorate it all the way around the neck edge. Looks really good as well. So I'm just going to continue to do a few more along here. You could just keep going and going and going. I love it. Yeah, nicely little decorated bodice top using craft gemstones and rhinestones. And then finally, to get her dressed, so put a little dress on with her Diamante coverings. I'm just going to now put her little sparkle slippers on. This little knitting pattern, this is available on my website to make these little sparkle slippers. And we also sell the yarn as well for the slippers, and it comes in gold, silver, pale pink, pale blue and white. Okay, so sparkle slippers on. Let's pop her tutu on. I will be sewing this onto the dress at some stage. Turn you over, sweet pea. And then I've attached I haven't done the press studs on the back yet for her, but I have attached the Velcro backing there for her wings. That's why her wings sit nicely. My girls are saying, "Mummy, come and feed me, we're hungry." No, Skylar, quiet. So yeah, lovely little wings on her tutu dress. And then finally, you could do some decoration in her hair. And again, what we've got on the website, these little clips. These little barrette clips, and I've decorated these with some flowers. What I've done is I've just stuck with a hot glue gun a piece of that foam card that you can buy just to give a bigger platform to stick more of the flowers on. So yeah, these come in, these blank barrette clips are in our website, and we sell them in pairs. So yeah, they're lovely for just popping into her hair. They fit nicely in there. And then also, I mean, the sky's the limit with decorating these pixie dolls. You can just go, you know, completely over the top. Get some little dangly gold. You could also do ribbon in between each of the organza strips. Some double-sided satin ribbon would look nice. Again, sealed at the edges, so that could go all the way down through there. You could string beads and attach them through and let them hang down. I mean, there's so many things that you can do with your pixie doll to really, really dress her up. I'm so sorry about my doggies barking. You know, they have been quite good through this video, and when you have got 5 of them very close by to you, they have been good, bless them. So yeah, here she is, lovely little pixie dolly with her no-sew net tutu, her little sparkle slippers, her lovely wings. So don't forget to watch the video on how I make the wings, and I'm sure you are going to have absolute great fun creating, putting all your imagination into creating one of these little beauties. See you later.